Hello again, David. I want to do a video here. I think I'm going to call it Mormon Church Auschwitz. I have taken a look at the situation where I'm suing the Mormon Church right now for my name removal. They've asked me, told me many times they're going to remove my name from the records of the church as a threat, and I don't threaten or intimidate very easily. I said, please do. That's exactly what I want. Take my name off the records of the church. I resigned the first time, and they didn't take it off because when I was rebaptized, all my information was still there. So they didn't take it off the first time. Well, the second time I resigned, we're going to take it off this time. You're going to lose your baptism. You're going to lose your family. You're going to lose your nuts. You're going to lose your hip. We're going to take everything from you. You're going to be a goddamn fucking stump. We're going to have your arm is gone, your leg's gone, everything. Okay. I'd rather be a stump than be in a treacherous cult. So anyway, they didn't do it. So now the federal government is going to have to say to the Mormon Church, as usual, do the right thing. Just be fair, be honest, and follow through. So anyway, be that as it may. Here's what's gone through my mind in the last couple of hours. I talked a little bit about atheism, how it's a natural progression to come out of the Mormon Church and be an atheist. You know, when you've been beat up with the Jesus whip and the Jesus stick and tortured in the Jesus camp of the Mormon Church, you don't want anything to do with spirituality. It's a satanic organization that is designed specifically to keep you and I from developing an individual relationship with the Lord, with Jesus, with our Heavenly Father. Now, why do I say Auschwitz? Well, I'm not young enough or old enough to remember. I was born after World War II. I was born in 1948. But I have a little sense of history. I've seen the pictures. I've read and watched the videos and whatever. I do have a couple of degrees, master's degrees in human services. So I understand a little bit about human psychology, human motivation, human education, etc. Now, why am I comparing the Mormon Church with Auschwitz? Now, obviously, when you compare something, they're never identical. Nothing is ever identical. Even identical twins are not totally identical. So, all the Mormons are going to jump up and down and say, oh, see, it's different. We don't do I know their antics, and you do too. Here are the similarities that are very concerning to me as a father, as a human being, as a educated person in human services, someone who's done counseling my whole life, 77 years. I think I've heard it all, seen it all. I'm asking for my name to be removed from the Mormon Church because I don't want to be identified as ever being a Mormon. They're not letting me do that. There's a couple of reasons for it. They want to keep my name there to torture me. They want to keep my name there to show I'm in charge. They want to keep my name there because they want to use it for membership, names and numbers to put out to the world that they're much more inflated in numbers than they are. Now, what does that have to do with Auschwitz? I got thinking. I think the people that were in the concentration camps got a tattoo. I think they tattooed them. And once they had that tattoo, it was forever. You couldn't take it off. Now, I don't know, with modern technology, maybe you can remove that kind of a tattoo. But I've seen many Auschwitz and other concentration camp members that were stamped. They were stamped. Is that like name removal? I'm a member of the Mormon Church forever. They won't let me go. Is that Auschwitz stamp on their human body the same concept, same principle? You can get out of the Mormon, or you can get out of the Mormon Church. You can get out of Auschwitz, but your name is still there in the Mormon church, and your tattoo is still there identifying you as a member of that event. It's identical. The principle is identical. They're basically trying to control. They're trying to remind you. They're trying to make you part of history, their history. And the Auschwitz people would prefer to, forget what happened there. And I would prefer to forget what happened to me in the Mormon church. Now, there's one similarity. Now, does that make the whole loaf of bread? One ingredient? Of course not. Now, what about the train that picked all the Jews up and basically, I'm exaggerating, the train had a happy face on it. They thought they were going somewhere that was going to be good. They were being transported out of the cities, and they got a free ride on the train, kind of like Disneyland. Yeah. Kind of like being born in the covenant. A train to spiritual death, both. A train for pain and suffering, yeah. A train of deception. Oh, if you're born under the covenant, you're next to God. You're going to heaven. If you're a Jew, you're going to get on the train and you'll be in a nicer place and it'll be this. The Jews didn't know it was going to be a concentration camp. I didn't know it was going to be a basic concentration camp too, being born under the covenant. Now, there's two similarities how you get into a concentration camp. The gate is wide, the path is narrow. So I got into the Mormon church through my parents' baptism, and the Jews got into the concentration camp by getting on their trains and being taken by the authorities, the general authorities. Isn't that an interesting phrase? General authorities of the Mormon church and the authorities of Nazi Germany. Maybe another coincidence? Well, now, when the Jews got into their concentration camp, they weren't allowed to go anywhere, see anything. They were pretty much in a bubble. They were restricted. They had physical fences around them. But, the Mormon church has financial and psychological, emotional, and environmental fences around me. Certain places I couldn't go, certain places I couldn't see. Back in those days, I couldn't buy any beer on Sunday because most of the stores were all closed in Utah. The officers, the Mormon Nazi officers, controlled when the stores were open, what you could buy. You couldn't buy liquor at certain times, etc. So again, there's some kind of similarities there that they had in the concentration camp many fences, physical fences around them, but I had many emotional and other fences around me. I couldn't come and go the way I wanted to. I didn't have freedom to come and go. If I'd ever been seen in a bar, or if I'd ever been seen at a strip club, or if I'd ever seen at the Catholic Church or another church, and one of the reporters, the Nazi reporters of the Mormon church goes, "Oh, we saw David. He was there. He was there. Oh, David made a comment on YouTube. Oh, David did this." They report it back up to the authorities. And then the authorities come and punish me. And the authorities come and punish the Auschwitz people. Now, these kinds of evil men, they like to have a little fun. They like to have a little fun. Mingala, the doctor, he liked to take twins. And he would cut their eyes. He would slice their bodies. He would invade physically with knives and and do medical research without anesthetic and arbitrarily, capriciously, didn't need anybody's permission. He could abuse the physical bodies of those people at Auschwitz with no trepidation. Now I think, didn't Monson, the president of the Mormon Church, who Jesus chose to rule over the Mormon Church and be a father and a guide and maybe a diplomat, wasn't it Monson at BYU that brought in the homosexual guys that he thought that he could change their orientation, and he put them in a room kind of like Mingala? No, a lot like Mingala. And so Monson, with titillation, I'm sure, very similar probably to Mingala, Monson with his titillation said, well, let's show these gay men some gay porn. Let's show them a lot of erections and show them, gay pornography having to do with homosexuals. And then we're going to watch their penis. And if their penis becomes erect or starts to become erect, we're going to take electrical shock electrodes and put them on their penis. That'll keep them from being gay. That'll fix them. Mengele thought the same thing. These kinds of human experiments are atrocious, and they're similar. They're similar. Mengele was taking children, innocent children, and cutting them up and gouging their eyes out and all kinds of atrocious experiments. And Monson and BYU and the Mormon Church did the same thing to gay men, thinking that they could change the orientation. Well, the children that Mengele tortured died. And some of the men that the Auschwitz Mormon Nazi Monson died. They committed suicide. They were so humiliated, so embarrassed, so overwhelmed because the Mormon Church didn't accept them and didn't accept that they were born gay. They died too. Another similarity. Another similarity. And a mirror? Maybe not a mirror, but let's keep going. Let's see. What about the Nazis and the Mormons? They like music. They really like music. So they said, well, we're running a concentration camp here, but we want the people to know that we have goodness in our hearts. And Jesus is the head of our entire organization here. So the Nazi concentration camp people, there were some talented Jewish musicians. I don't know why I'm having such trouble with just my body's wearing out. They had these Jewish musicians. They got them together in wasn't a rock band. I'm just bullshitting, but they got them together. And they made them play music while these people were going into the concentration camp and being tortured and being gassed and being naked and being beaten and starved, etc. And the Nazis played music so everybody could enjoy what was going on. I've seen the Tabernacle Choir. In fact, I've been to Temple Square, and I've heard the Tabernacle Choir sing. They line up perfectly. They're all in the right uniform. They're all shaved right. Hair is right. An Aryan race? Oh my gosh. Do I see an Aryan race? Well, let me close my eyes because I don't want to be prejudiced now. So they sing. And they entertain. And while the normal members of the Mormon Church are in the gas chamber, being naked, running around with no clothes and not having any food and being intimidated and tortured, the Mormon Church is kind enough to provide wonderful, wonderful music. kind of maybe another similarity. Then I think, well, what about the Auschwitz guys? They basically, the owners, the overseers of Auschwitz, SS guards, they dressed a certain way. They dressed a certain way. They had to have the uniform exactly right. They had to have the stripes on there, the stars and the bangles and beads, and orchestrating to the world, they're in charge. They're in charge. They're the authority. You will bow your head. You will say yes. And whatever they say, it is the God's truth. Now, when I've been to a conference and I've been to BYU and I've been all over the United States at different wars, and when the state presidents or the general authorities show up, they all have their suit, and they have their tie, and they have their white shirt, and they have their garments, and they have their black shoes. You're all going to say, oh, he's exaggerating. That's not a uniform. It is. It is a uniform. It intimidates. When you're a bozo, a peasant in the Mormon church, I remember when I had children, I couldn't even afford to buy a damn tie for. I had a bishop once in Oklahoma. I had my children dressed in a dress shirt, but it wasn't white. He came up to me in Oklahoma and he said, Mr. David, why is your son out of uniform? That's what he said. That's what my ears heard. Why is your son out of uniform? I said, well, sir, we can't afford a white shirt. All we had was a blue shirt. He says, well, he has to be in uniform. He can't pass the sacrament. That's not going to accept that. You get him down. Similar? Identical. Identical. So the SS guards had certain uniforms that conveyed power, authority, and you don't fuck with them. You don't fuck with them because they can torture you, they can kill you, they can and now excommunicate you, they can disfellowship you, they can put you on probation. They got power. The SS guards had power exactly the same as the Mormon church authorities have power. Now, the situation, again, between Auschwitz and Mormon Auschwitz, what about families? Families are forever. Families are put together. They're loving. They're kind. And the authorities of the Mormon church and the authorities of a Nazi keeps the families together. Do they? Do they? I remember seeing the pictures of the people coming off the train and the man standing there and going left, right, left, right. Families, mothers, fathers, children, left, right. Left went to the death camps, right went to work camps. Death, right, death. Separated the families right from the get-go. Right from the get-go, families were separated by the Nazis. Well, now you look at the Mormon church, you go, oh my gosh, they don't go left, right, or do they? If you or your wife leave the Mormon church and you say, I don't want to be in Auschwitz anymore, please set me free. The Mormon church starts going like this again, like Nazi. The children go here, these children go here. We want to make sure the children go with the person who is active in the church. They will point and they will influence a court, especially in Utah, that whoever stays in the church, they separate the family, children, from the other parent. Now, as you get older in the Mormon church, like me, and one of the members, like myself, say, this isn't going to float my boat. I'm out of here. Well, what are the punishments? It's Auschwitz. The church has trained my children to shun me. They basically say if anyone has left the church or is not a member of the church or has anything negative to say about the church, you're not to be around them. You're to shun them. Don't talk to them. Don't be with them. Exclude yourself from their life. Yeah. My children went one side of the concentration camp. I went to the other side of the camp. Another kind of similarity there. And when I look at when the Allies went in and freed the people from the concentration camp, they were overjoyed. The people there, of course. But the people, government, the soldiers that went in were astonished. They were astonished at what they found, the cruelty and the degradation and the inhumane treatment that was going on. Well, gosh, is there anything similar like that? If you resign from the Mormon church, basically, I came out, I was so happy. It was like coming out of a concentration camp. I was free. And the people outside the bubble looked at me and said, "My God, don't you know how abused you were being?" I go, "No, I didn't know that I was being beat up and abused and humiliated and embarrassed." Some more similarities. There seems to be, and I'm coming with my education a little bit, some patterns in power for human beings. For some reason, mostly men, some women, but mostly men, really are into power. And they try to control you with anything that they can get over you. Let me see. In Auschwitz, they didn't get to eat. They had to go without food as sometimes even punishment. And gosh, when I was in the Mormon church, we had Fast Sunday, and all of my children and me would go without 2 meals and saving the money and giving it to the Nazi authorities of the Mormon church who kept it for themselves. So food is a controlling aspect of human behavior. And basically, when the Mormon church told me all my life, you can't basically eat certain things, the word of wisdom, that restricted me. They had power over me. In Auschwitz, the people certainly had no privacy. Sexuality became impossible. Privacy didn't exist. The SS officers basically took advantage of the girls and screwed them and sodomized them and abused them over and over again. I don't know. Does that sound a little bit like Joseph Smith and Helen Mar Kimball and Fanny Auger? And, you know, the Nazis could screw as many people as they wanted. And you know what? So could Joseph Smith. He had 30 wives. There's no limit to these two kinds of activities in these two organizations. And you say, well, maybe, you know, Joseph was an aberration. But didn't Brigham Young marry a 15-year-old and he had 57 wives? He could have been at Auschwitz and just lined up who he wanted to line up, and they didn't have any choice. You know, they just screwed their brains out, and he had the power, he had the authority, he was the governor, he was a prophet of the church. These powerful institutions with these evil men in them have a very similar pattern of behavior. Very similar. And if you don't obey in the Mormon church, you're cast out to what's called spiritual death. Oh, outer darkness, spiritual death. In Auschwitz, if you didn't behave, I think they just put you into the line that went into the gas chamber. Physical death. Hmm, gosh, some similarities there. Now, the other thing that I noticed about the Nazis leading up to the concentration camps is they burned all the books. Anything that was against the Nazi philosophy, they killed or imprisoned intellectuals, political people that opposed them, and they burned all of the books that nobody could read. They only wanted you to read Nazi books. Oh, I remember the Mormon church before the internet came out. You're only allowed to read church approved material. Church approved material. The rest of the libraries are burned. All the other books are burned. And if you do not fall in line and you oppose verbally, stand on the street corner and say this isn't right, and you become a political person, you become a political prisoner. It's identical. I know human sociology. I know human behavior. I'm trained in it, plus I have experience in it. They're identical. Evil men act very similar in the behavior towards those that they victimize and those that they take advantage of. Now, I thought I saw too, when I was looking at the Holocaust, there were pictures of great big piles of shoes and great big piles of eyeglasses and personal items that basically they took from the Holocaust victims, put them in the concentration camp, but then they had all of this extra things that they could sell, they could use, they could barter with. They stole their property. They stole their property. They confiscated their homes in the cities. They took their furniture. They took everything except what they could hold in a bag off to a concentration camp. I think I'm seeing some similarities here that are very disturbing. And that's too kind of word. I'm seeing that are atrocious, absolutely hideously evil and atrocious. These principles are ruling over people and taking food, comfort, clothing, eyeglasses, rewarding only those who bow their head and say yes, punishing all those that will not do that, are identical. Now, the uniforms that I mentioned of the general authorities, not general, all authorities, bishops, stake presidents, whatever, with their tie, their white shirt, and back in the old days, they used to have a little pin, a little Moroni pin that they put on their tie pin. So you could see who they were, and you better not fuck with them. You better not fuck with them. They have the power, they have the authority, and they put a smile on their face. But if you frown at them, you're gone. You're gone morally, spiritually, financially, etc. Now you say, "Well, they don't wear a uniform." When I was in the temples of the Mormon Church, I went through the washing and anointing, and the old man helped put my garments on me, and I was instructed to wear my garments the rest of my life, which I did until I resigned. And I thought, now I'm going into a federal court in Salt Lake City, and part of my lawsuit, you can look at it, it's on video. If you don't care, I don't care either. But I mentioned that, when the judge sits up on the stand, and I can see his happy face, garment line, that's intimidating to me. That's the Mormon Church going, no, fuck you. We're here. We've got the power. We're in a club, and our club is going to kick your ass. Well, I said to the court, I don't want to see garments in the courtroom. So anyway, so they wear their Nazi uniform, which is the coat, tie, and usually a red tie, red tie, and their garments. So they look like Nazi SS officers to me. Now, the other thing, what about record keeping? What about record keeping? Gee, didn't the Nazi regime keep records, constant records of who they killed, when they killed them, etc., their ID number, and anyone that had certain power and authority who were intellects or had education were designated in their record keeping. And again, if you were in Auschwitz, you had a tattoo, you could never get rid of it. If you're in the Mormon church, you have a name, they're never going to remove it. They're never going to remove it. I've said this on two or three videos. My favorite songs there in, I'm old, The Eagles, Hotel California. You can check out any time you like, but you can never leave. You can check out any time you like, but you can never leave. That's the Mormon church. And that was Auschwitz. So I'm seeing spiritual death, I'm seeing physical death, financial death, moral death, moral degradation, that the men in charge can just screw whoever they want, anytime they want, and they always have an excuse and a reason. And if you're a scientist and you want to put electrodes on penises, or you want to gouge out eyes of babies to see if twins can't see, the Mormon church and Auschwitz is a pretty good place to congregate. Pretty good place to congregate. Now, I'm bringing this up for two reasons. One is it's come to my mind. I was just sitting in the chair there and I go, I don't know, just comes to my mind. These principles, harsh, hideous. When men rule over other men and they seek unrighteous dominion and unrighteous power, the atrocities that are committed are astounding. They're incomprehensible. Incomprehensible. When I saw the stacks of bodies on the Holocaust that were being pushed by bulldozers into mass graves, and the babies and the men and the women and the children, I couldn't even comprehend it. I couldn't even comprehend it. But when I see how the Mormon church has treated third world people, like I said, I'm limited to the Philippines. I married a Filipino. I adopted two Filipino girls, little girls, and I have in-laws Filipino that have lived with me. They were a Mormon family. I saw how the Mormon church treated them in the Philippines. Without food, without clothing, without anything, but demanding 2 or 3 pesos a month, 6 cents tithing. And they went without food to pay that 6 cents tithing. And they had to buy Mormon garments that they couldn't afford. Save up for months, months and months. I have to be a voice. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've heard it. I've lived it. Been there, done that. This is not my first rodeo. This video, I'm going to go ahead and name Mormon Church Auschwitz. I will make other videos in revealing additional information. I know I'm at risk. I know that the Mormon Church could shoot me. I know the Mormon Church could poison me. I know the Mormon Church could grab one of my kids or kill my wife, whatever. I don't want that, of course, in a million years. But they're not going to intimidate me anymore. I'm coming out of Auschwitz. I know what's right. I know what's wrong. And I recognize SS officers. I recognize their behavior, their smile, their Aryan attitude. I know Nazis, and I know people who are little Nazis. I think we ought to look also at the Aryan race. That's what Nazi Germany wanted. They wanted all the Jews and all the people that were not blonde, blue-eyed, white-skinned to be gone off the face of the earth. Oh my gosh. Did I read anything in the Book of Mormon that said before they changed their words because they got caught, that basically the people that were Lamanites were not white and delightsome. The Mormons got caught with their panties down. Oh, change it to wholesome. Change it to wholesome. We got caught. We are looking for an Aryan group here. We just want money from third world people. We just want those pesos, and we want all of those people suffering to send money back to us because the United States population is dying with the Mormon Church. We need extra money from third world countries. I thought that Hitler wanted an Aryan race. That's why he exterminated 6 million Jews. And the Book of Mormon basically said they were loathsome, dark-skinned, that they were not white and delightsome. Oh, and I remember something else in the Mormon Church. Brigham Young said that if anyone marries a black person, they should be killed instantly. Instantly. And Brigham Young also said that people need to spill their blood for 2 crimes. 1, murder, the blood atonement. If anyone kills somebody, they have to be shot or their blood has to be spilled. Oh, the other thing he said, apostasy. Anyone that is an apostate needs to be killed and their blood spilled on the ground. I'm seeing too much, people. I'm seeing too much. I've wanted to hold this in the back of my mind and say, I can't believe it. I don't want to believe it. I was involved in it. I didn't look close enough. I didn't do my due diligence. I didn't do my homework. And I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed. I need to say something. Mormonism is a form of Auschwitz. It is a form of that kind of power and authority, evil and hideous, atrocious dealings with fellow men. Totally opposite of Jesus Christ and our Heavenly Father. Totally opposite. It is the great and abominable church. And never believe what you hear the Mormons say. Look with your eyes and your ears and see what they do. What they say and what they do are 100% oppositional. Mormon Auschwitz.